You're not actually fine, you're just functional enough that nobody asks twice. High-functioning depression is the kind nobody validates because you still show up. You meet your deadlines at work, sometimes even early. You respond to texts within a reasonable timeframe, crafting replies that sound engaged and present. You laugh at the right moments during lunch, remembering to ask follow-up questions about your coworker's weekend. And because you execute all of this so convincingly, everyone around you assumes you're managing just fine. But here's the trap: their reassurance becomes your cage. Every time someone says you seem okay or you're doing great, it reinforces the lie you're telling yourself, that you don't have permission to struggle, that your pain isn't real enough, isn't severe enough to matter. That suffering requires visible collapse, missed shifts, unanswered calls, unwashed hair before it counts as legitimate. You're not fine, you're performing fine with rehearsed precision. And the applause for that performance is what slowly kills. Because as long as everyone believes the act, you feel obligated to keep playing the role. I remember sitting across from a friend at our usual coffee shop who kept insisting I seemed really good lately. I just finished a project ahead of deadline. I was showered, wearing clean clothes. I'd made eye contact during our entire conversation. By all external measures, I was winning at life. But what she couldn't see beneath my functional exterior was that I'd spent the previous 72 hours feeling absolutely nothing. Not sad, not anxious, just blank. A void where motivation used to live. I'd completed that project on pure autopilot, every keystroke mechanical, every decision made from muscle memory rather than genuine engagement. The words on my screen could have been in another language for all the connection I felt to them. And when she said, "You're doing great," something inside me collapsed. Because if I looked this okay while feeling this empty, how bad would I need to get before anyone noticed? How much would I have to disintegrate internally before my suffering registered as real to the outside world? Here's what the research shows. People with high-functioning depression score lower on support-seeking behaviors precisely because their functionality creates what psychologists call invalidation by competence. A 2019 study in the Journal of Affective Disorders found that individuals who maintained work and social obligations despite depressive symptoms were 43% less likely to pursue treatment than those with visible impairment. Why? Because every completed task becomes evidence against your own suffering. You finish the presentation at work despite crying in your car beforehand, therefore you're fine. You make dinner for your family while numbness spreads through your chest, therefore you're fine. You show up to brunch when you wanted to stay in bed for 72 hours, therefore you're fine. Your competence becomes the prosecutor in your own trial, meticulously arguing that you don't deserve help or resources. And the jury, your well-meaning friends and family, delivers the verdict over and over with concerned smiles. But you seem totally okay to me. Case dismissed. Suffering denied. The cruelest part is that you start policing yourself with their words. When you feel the emptiness creeping in, you tell yourself what they've told you. I'm being dramatic. Other people have it worse. I'm functional, so I must be fine. This is what cognitive behavioral therapy identifies as emotional reasoning filtered through external invalidation. You're using other people's perception of your output to determine the legitimacy of your internal experience. And it creates a vicious feedback loop that tightens with each cycle. The better you perform, the less valid your pain feels. The less valid your pain feels, the harder you perform to prove to yourself that you're okay. Until you're running on fumes, accomplishing everything, feeling nothing, and still somehow convinced you don't deserve support because you haven't collapsed yet. You show up to every meeting. You answer every email. You maintain the performance while your chest tightens and sleep becomes impossible. You're waiting for permission to fall apart, but that permission never comes when you're still standing. Let me tell you what that looked like for me. I started cataloging my symptoms like evidence in a court case. The insomnia that left me staring at my ceiling at 3 a.m., the emotional numbness when my sister announced her engagement, the way I'd stare at my phone for 20 minutes without processing a single notification. But then I'd counter each piece of evidence with my functionality. But I still went to the gym, but I still met that deadline, but I still showed up to that dinner. I was building a case against myself. And every time someone complimented my work or commented on how together I seemed, it was like the judge siding with the prosecution. My own suffering became inadmissible evidence, because if I could still function, how depressed could I really be? The answer, it turns out, is very. You can be dying inside and still pay your bills on time. Those two things are not mutually exclusive, but nobody tells you that. There's a term in trauma psychology called socially prescribed perfectionism, and it's everywhere in high-functioning depression. You maintain your performance not because you want to, but because you're terrified of what happens when you stop. Because the moment you slip, the moment you miss a deadline or cancel plans or let someone see the cracks, you lose the only thing protecting you: plausible deniability. As long as you look fine, you can tell yourself maybe you are fine. But if you let the mask slip, you have to face the truth. And the truth is terrifying, so you keep going, you keep performing. You keep showing up to every meeting, answering every email within minutes, laughing at jokes that aren't funny, not because you're strong, because you're scared. Scared that if you stop, you'll have to admit how much pain you've been in all along. And even more scared that when you do admit it, people still won't believe you, because you've been fine for so long. The turning point for me came during a routine checkup. My doctor asked the standard depression screening questions, and I answered honestly for the first time in years. Yes to persistent emptiness, yes to loss of interest, yes to feeling exhausted despite adequate sleep. When she paused and said, "These answers indicate moderate to severe depression," I actually laughed, because I'd been to work every day that week. I'd met friends for coffee. I'd posted on social media. How could I be severely depressed when I was still doing everything? And she said something that cracked me open. You're not functioning despite being fine. You're functioning despite being very unwell, and that's not strength, that's survival mode. Nobody had ever named it before. The performing, the constant effort to appear normal, the way I'd weaponize my own competence against my own pain. If I'd known earlier that functionality and suffering could coexist, I would have asked for help years sooner. Here's the pattern you need to recognize. Every time someone tells you you're fine, they're not diagnosing you, they're describing your performance. And you've been so good at performing that you've convinced everyone, including yourself, that the performance is reality. But your nervous system knows the difference. Your body is keeping score even when your mind denies the math. The chronic tension in your shoulders that migrates into headaches by Wednesday. The way you can't remember the last time you felt genuine excitement about anything. Not your morning coffee, not weekend plans, not even that promotion you once would have celebrated. The fact that you're watching your own life from behind glass, present but not participating, nodding through conversations while feeling absolutely nothing. These aren't signs that you're managing well. These are alarm bells that you've learned to silence because nobody else hears them ringing. The most dangerous thing about high-functioning depression isn't the depression itself. It's the way your functionality becomes the reason you don't get help. So what changed? I stopped asking permission to struggle. I stopped using my completed to-do list as evidence that I was okay. I started telling people, I'm getting everything done and I still feel terrible, and watching them struggle to reconcile those two facts. Because they can both be true. You can be competent and depressed, reliable and suffering, functional and falling apart. You can make every deadline while your chest tightens with dread each morning. You can answer every email while fighting thoughts that tell you none of it matters. The moment I separated my output from my internal experience, I gave myself permission to seek help without needing to hit rock bottom first. I didn't need to lose my job or stop showering or have a crisis to deserve support. I deserved support because I was in pain, period. Not because I'd proven my pain through visible collapse. Not because I'd missed enough obligations or worried enough people. Just because I was hurting, that's enough. It was always enough. If you're reading this and thinking this is exactly me, then you already know what you need to do. Stop waiting to get worse before you ask for help. Stop using your competence as proof that you're not struggling. Stop letting other people's perception of your functionality determine the validity of your pain. You're not fine just because you're still going. You're exhausted. You're numb. You're performing a role that's slowly erasing who you actually are. And you deserve support not when you collapse, but right now. While you're still standing, that's when help matters most. Before the foundation cracks completely. Before you've spent another year pretending you're okay while slowly disappearing inside. You've already survived long enough on your own. You don't need to prove anything else. But there's one more uncomfortable truth I haven't told you yet. In tomorrow's video, we'll explore why the people closest to you are often the last ones to notice your depression and how your intimacy becomes the perfect hiding place. Subscribe so you don't miss it. If the video resonated with you, hit subscribe. Uncomfortable Truths drops a new uncomfortable truth tomorrow and every day after on personal finance, relationships, mindset, and productivity, and more. Turn on notifications so you're first to see it. The truth is uncomfortable, but it's always worth it.